Hi there, and welcome to a very stormy and rainy Portugal for this week's audio version of the blog, Off-Grid and Entertaining in Portugal. And we've certainly been, I wouldn't say entertained, certainly kept busy by the recent spate of weather. And that is the subject and the title of this week's dispatch. Biblical weather on sting jets, bomb cyclones, and a jet stream of chaos. Marta has arrived. After being battered by Ingrid, Joseph, Kristin, and Leonardo, the sixth named storm of the year has done what only storm systems can do and is barreling into Portugal. There are certain words and phrases it's hard to separate from their familiar context. Is anything else dour except a Scotsman? Only perhaps the weather in Scotland, which is remarkably similar to the last 5 weeks in Portugal. It's just a lot warmer here, and being up on a hill removes the threat of flooding. As I write from inside the indoor-outdoor room at our house, the wind is whipping up a hoolie. That's the Scottish gale, not the Irish party. All the animals have elected to stay inside, the fire is on, and we're sitting in the warm, watching the weather apps, monitoring our solar battery levels, and hoping nothing too important blows away. Of course, on the news, storms barreling into the coast often cause devastation, and in some cases, utter devastation. It might be a trope or journalese, but that doesn't mean it isn't true. The Portuguese government described this as a devastating crisis caused by the wave of storms. The state of emergency here has been extended, and there's talk of generational flooding, all with a presidential election taking place on Sunday. Tens of thousands of people were still without power a week after a bomb cyclone and a sting jet hit Leiria, which is midway between Lisbon and Porto, quite a way north of us. More about those two phenomena later, and about their connection to Britain's Great October Storm in 1987, Krakatoa, bombing raids to Japan during the Second World War, and the two policemen responsible for sending us British weather. I have organised my life very carefully around avoiding British weather for the best part of 25 years, so you can imagine my current disappointment, even if I haven't yet needed to change out of my shorts. But we've been lucky here in the valley. The worst so far was the departure of a large section of protective glass from its moorings next to the pool, which somehow didn't break in the fall. A few sections of plastic roofing have been relocated and retrieved from the forest. The solar panels deep in the valley have flipped over onto the pillar tank, which has so far avoided puncture, despite Daniel's metal pump house roof sprouting wings and taking flight. One gigantic eucalyptus tree has been uprooted and is being desperately supported by one of its neighbouring trees, slowing its journey to the forest floor. We're already eyeing that one up to make a bench. Many of the tall, dead eucalyptus trees on our neighbours' land that were sheltering in place amid the new growth following the fire a few years ago have taken a tumble, making the wood look more like a giant game of pickup sticks. Our track is a little cut up, but it has been worse, as main roads have been blocked by falling trees and the firefighting bombeiros have been busy with their chainsaws. At least 13 people have been killed across the country. And while some communities are still without water, others have far too much. The incessant conveyor belt of extratropical storm systems being guided straight into the Iberian coast since the start of the year has soaked the soil, filled up all the reservoirs, and sent storm surges flowing up the rivers to meet the runoff coming down. The consequences continue to be dramatic. Riverside shops and homes in Alcácer de Sal were flooded up to the first floor as the level of the Sardo River went up 2 meters in 20 minutes. Memories of covering hurricanes, typhoons, cyclones, and tornadoes as a foreign correspondent have come rushing back this week. The chaos in the French Quarter as Katrina hit New Orleans, the entire bowling alley flattened by a twister in Oklahoma, but with the pins in one lane somehow still standing. Manila underwater, and then riskily escaping Madagascar's east coast by helicopter just ahead of a massive storm. But with the hatches firmly battened down, and lunch plans quite literally rain-checked by a downpour that will undoubtedly trap our neighbours on their land until the flash flood has risen and abated, I've had time to ponder wordplay and meteorology, and to have a deep dive into why we're getting such a hammering this year. My geography degree and years of watching weather patterns in our new off-grid home to understand when to expect trouble were augmented with a couple of long and slightly confusing conversations with two Portuguese professors. But I think I've worked it out. And with advance apologies to the meteorological purists, I'm going to have a go at explaining it on the basis that any accuracy lost in the act of simplification is all my own fault. It's the jet stream. There we go. You need more? Okay. There are a number of jet streams, but the one affecting us is a fast-flowing river of air flowing west to east at around 30,000 feet, or 9,000 meters, across the Atlantic. It's what planes fly into when going from the US to the UK to save fuel and time, and it's what they try to avoid on the way back. It's created as heat from the equator flows up towards the poles and is pulled east by the Earth's rotation. It speeds up where the warm air meets the cold polar air. Like a river, it can run fast and straight at 250 miles an hour or 400 kilometers an hour, or meander more slowly, making weather systems linger longer. And it can also move further north or further south. This year, it's further south, broadly bringing icy temperatures to northern Europe, the split weather we see across North America, and more storms to southern Europe and Iberia. The Baltic has been, well, Baltic. The minus 34.3 Celsius in Lithuania is the lowest since 1996, and Tunisia has had its heaviest rain in 70 years. There's so much more I want to tell you about the jet stream, about how it was noticed after the 1883 Krakatoa volcanic eruption created an equatorial smoke stream, about how it slowed American bombing raids to Japan in World War II, but at the same time sped Japanese explosive-laden hydrogen-filled paper balloons towards the US. Fogo balloon bombs were the first intercontinental weapons, and there's a great episode of the wonderful Radiolab podcast all about it. As usual, go online. You'll see links to that and lots of photographs and videos of some of the scenes that we've had in Portugal over the last few weeks. Some blue sky moonshot thinkers believe the jet stream could even be a source of sustainable power generation, presumably once they work out how to keep an aerostatic wing at 30,000 feet and then get the electricity back down to Earth. But there is more to discuss. The jet stream guides mid-Atlantic storms and affects where the two policemen direct traffic, to quote Professor Carlos de Câmara from the University of Lisbon. The conveyor belt of storms are delivered between the clockwise turning Azores High in the south and the anti-clockwise spinning Icelandic Low in the north. Their position and their strength also contribute to pushing these 6 named storms into Portugal this year, like on a conveyor belt. Warmer ocean temperatures and a ready source of water vapor arriving on an atmospheric river from the Caribbean, and we here in Portugal have a lot of wind and a lot of rain. Many British listeners will remember the Great October Storm of 1987, which killed 18 people, felled 15 million trees with gusts of 115 miles an hour, and came the night after BBC weather forecaster Michael Fish joked there wasn't a hurricane coming. He was right, in a way. It wasn't caused by a hurricane, but by the same phenomenon that caused all the damage in Leiria, according to Professor Pedro Miranda, also of the University of Lisbon. He explained it was years later in 2004 when Professor Keith Browning and colleagues at the University of Reading identified an intense, localised wind descending from a great height where you wouldn't normally expect it in a storm system. And they dubbed it a sting jet, after a noticeable pattern on satellite maps resembled a scorpion's tail. They happen in bomb cyclones, depressions which form quickly and deepen rapidly to produce higher winds and stormier weather. The discovery helped forecasters alert people in Scotland in 2011 and 2012, and it was predicted in Portugal last week, only a bit further north than anticipated. Now, that's a lot to take in, and if you've made it this far, congratulations. There's so much more to say, but this isn't either the time or the place. I need to head back up the hill soon to see what these crazy winds have done. With the rain still falling and full reservoirs starting to release water into the rivers, there's more flooding and chaos to come in Portugal, no doubt. But a break in the conveyor belt of named storms is predicted. Somehow, between squalls, our solar panels bring in plenty of power to keep our batteries well and truly topped up. But it's time to bring on some more sunshine, a little less wind, and a less cloudy, dramatic view of our valleys and the mountains beyond. Our tanks and our lakes are full. It's now time for a break in the weather. Spring is on the horizon and summer is coming soon. Do go on our website and check out how you can book to come and see us, stay with us, and see all this in real life. Thanks very much for listening. I'll speak to you next time.